This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is the After Party live on a Monday. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your patience as we switch from one show to the next. And here we go. A lot of great stories coming up, a lot of animal stories. We're animal heavy today, and of course, it's Hide in Your Cave Monday. I hope everyone had a really good weekend and ready for the week ahead. It's almost the end of the school year for a lot of kids, and that always means there's so much to do. And of course, last minute projects coming up. Last minute because I'm told on Sunday night that we have a project due. And so that's what I was doing last night, making a Genius Hour project. But the end of the school year, always super, super busy. So thank you for taking the time out to kind of reset and relax. Michael Schur did a great job on the Mark Thompson show. And tomorrow we'll have David Cay Johnston on the show, which is always super fun. Jefferson Graham is back from his Route 66 road trip, and he will be joining us as well. And we have a historian, a conversation that Mark had that he left behind that I will play for you. And it's really, really interesting. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow for that. Right now, though, let's get into some of the stories we have for you today. And that includes this story about the Asian unicorn. Look at this beautiful creature. They call it an Asian unicorn because it's so rare and so special, and you hardly ever get to see this animal. And now it looks like it's making a recurrence. It hasn't been seen in the wild since 2013, but now the Saola, S-A-O-L-A, Saola, which is this rare antelope-like creature that lives in the forests of Vietnam and Laos, is back. And because it hasn't been seen for more than a decade, it's called the Asian unicorn because if you see one, it's super, super rare. The sighting, though, is giving scientists hope that maybe this animal, the Saola, can be saved from extinction. It is in the same group as buffalo, cows, antelope, but they do have their own unique genus, the Saulo. It's the most recently discovered, I should say, large mammal in the world, first described in 1992 after it was spotted in Vietnam in a national park there. And even then, it was already endangered. The most optimistic estimates for this creature suggest that fewer than 100 remain in the forests of Vietnam and Laos. But they don't know for sure because where these creatures live is remote, rugged, hard to get to. And so maybe there's more than we thought or than we think there are. Right now, their existence can't be proven or disproven, according to the Forest Inventory and Planning Institute in Vietnam. They say the last evidence they have was from 2013 when they saw one on a camera trap. But because of the remoteness of the habitat, it's difficult to say for sure whether there are still a few out there. There are, though, some indications that are giving researchers hope. There's a new paper published in the journal Cell. It includes the first genome map of the Saola. They had 26 Saola individual remains from the households of hunters, and that's where they got the DNA. They say that it sheds light on the past of this species and maybe its future as well. That at one point, the Saola had split into two populations and both had serious genetic differences. It happened between 5 and 20,000 years ago, they think. And they say they would never have known this without that genetic data. And it's important because it lets them know how the species is distributed. The two distinct populations have both seen a decline in genetic diversity and survivability as well. If you mix them up, they think you could compensate for what has been missing. And that is, they think, the key to saving the Saola from extinction. The thought is if they can bring together at least a dozen saulas, a mix from both populations to form the foundation for a future population, that the models show this species could have a decent chance of surviving in the long term because it's worked before when other species were facing extinction. The problem is finding the 12 saulas they would need to get this going. So, uh, we'll see. We'll see if they can. But until then, look, we have this beautiful picture of this so-called Asian unicorn. We'll go to another story now about animals, and it's this elk that settled down right in front of a hospital to give birth. How appropriate is that, right? This birth happened on the grass right out front of a hospital in Anchorage, Alaska. Witnesses there took pictures when this mother moose just settled down on the grass right outside Providence Hospital in Anchorage, Alaska, and gave birth. There was a crowd around watching this spectacle. One woman said she was on the way to the hospital cafeteria when she saw this crowd and walked up, and there were a ton of people peering over a balcony. She said, "What's going on?" And she then figured out there was this moose who just gave birth. She said it's a once in a lifetime thing to witness, the cutest thing they've ever seen. There's the mother moose, elk rather. Is it a moose or an elk? I'm sorry, it's a moose giving birth. Look at that. How cute. Touching noses for the first time. And here's the brand new baby moose. How cute. Wow. The mother moose and the calf were stayed right in this area where the birth happened for hours. I would imagine that would be normal, getting, the bearings for the baby moose and mom recovering. They had another elk or moose visit in 2023 when a young moose wandered into the hospital lobby and started eating the decorative plants they had in there. So this is a little bit different. But yeah, gave birth right in front of the hospital. How appropriate is that? Also have this story to share with you, and this is a story out of Florida about this kayaker who has befriended or has become friends with a manatee.
And you'll be mine on time.
Now I can't because of the music, but it's really kind of a cute story. This lady goes kayaking every day, and she goes kayaking where these manatees live. And well, not kayaking, paddleboarding, I should say. Her name is Kendra, and she goes paddleboarding among the manatees that live at E.G. Simmons Regional Park. And she does this every week. And there is this one manatee that repeatedly comes to her paddleboard, and she's posted these viral encounters on TikTok showing this one manatee. She's named the manatee Paddle, and it visits her on the water. Paddle clings to the board, pokes its face out of the water, looks at her, sometimes clings to her leg. She said it's like he recognizes her whenever she's on the water. She said it also could be this connection we share through our frequent meetings. But she said she wants everyone to know she doesn't intentionally approach or touch the manatees because that's illegal in Florida. But this manatee, Paddle, just comes right up to her and happens pretty much every time she goes out there to paddle. So it's kind of a cute friendship that has been struck up. Not so cute, this story about monkey kidnappers. Yeah, these capuchin monkeys kidnap baby howler monkeys, apparently. And scientists are pretty surprised. They think maybe the capuchin monkeys are bored. Hmm. They're so much like us in so many ways. Grooming, um, all kinds of things that they do and behaviors that they do. But there is this isolated group of white-faced capuchins that have been kidnapping baby howler monkeys, and it's happened over a 15-month period. 5 different male capuchins living on this island off the western coast of Panama called Jicaron were caught on camera carrying 11 different infant howlers away for days at a time. At least 4 of those babies died because they didn't have milk and needed that to survive and didn't have it and so couldn't. And the others may have met the same fate, but we don't know. The authors of a study published today in the journal Current Biology say they have never seen anything like this. The incidence of interspecies abduction, the first ever documented among male capuchins. Females have been occasionally spotted nursing, carrying, or raising infants of other species, but that's a little different than what's happening here. The behavior in females is usually described as adoption, and it's usually caring for an orphaned or abandoned infant. These cases, it looks like the male monkeys purposefully took the baby howler monkeys from their parents, and they did it really fast. 11 such instances in a row. They say it's pretty shocking. One of the lead authors of the study says, I saw this capuchin monkey carrying a howler infant on its back and was completely shocked. She said, I could tell this was not something that had been described elsewhere, that they've never observed anything like this in their long-term studies. The behavior is called unsettling, especially given that howler monkeys are part of an endangered subspecies. So they're hoping this doesn't keep happening, but the kidnappings do offer hints into Capuchin cultural trends, group dynamics, and conditions that indicate new behaviors among a smart social species. And researchers say it provides kind of a mirror into ourselves, that we're always looking for ways that we're the same or different from animals. And a lot of the times we focus on the positive, like the way we're good at using tools, using language, but there may be arbitrary behaviors with no clear purpose that actually harm other species. So the researchers say it's fascinating to see that that's also happening in other intelligent animals as well. The island, Jicaron, and also nearby Koiba Island are the only places in the world where some bands of capuchins habitually use stone tools. So they're pretty smart creatures. They're known for developing odd social rituals as well. They've been seen poking fingers up each other's noses and each other's eyes, biting fur off of each other, drumming on a partner's belly or back, sticking hands in each other's mouths. Maybe as a test of social bonds, researchers aren't sure. They say if you could poke somebody in the eye and not start a fight, then you know your friendship is solid. But maybe it's devising new ways to interact as well. And they say every time they go and observe these monkeys, which they've been doing since the 80s, they get new information. The monkeys just keep surprising them. And it's not always in good ways, like with these kidnappings. The first in such incident of a kidnapping was seen in footage from 2022. And initially, it was one carrier, a subadult, a teenager named Joker, who was recorded holding 4 different howlers over 3 months for up to 9 days at a time. Joker appeared to act non-aggressively toward these infants in at least one sighting, tenderly embracing this howler baby monkey. But because they didn't have milk, they deteriorated and grew weaker over time and then were dehydrated and didn't live. So, and then Joker carried the 2 of the infants for at least a day after they died. So weird and interesting. None of the howler infants showed signs of external injury or attack. So if you had told me that they ate them, I would think, well, that's normal because, some species eat their young, or maybe some species eat the weaker species of weaker members of others, right? But that's not what was happening here at all. So, yeah. The the situation warrants further study, as always. We go to now Hide in Your Cave Monday because I have this story that was submitted to me, I think it came from Calvin Wong, and if I'm getting that wrong, I'm sorry that I didn't note who sent the story in, but it's fascinating and it's a perfect story for Hide in Your Cave Monday. We are going to the Natural Trap Cave. Check this out. This is where it's located in the Wyoming area. Looks like toward the top of the state, north part of the state. Trap Cave. Boy, I've lost the ability to speak. There's been a trove of Ice Age fossils buried in this cave, and it's changing the way we understand prehistoric animals. It's called Natural Trap Cave, and you've got to rappel to get down into this cave. You can see them up there with the ropes. Here's another picture of them rappelling down deep, deep down into this cave, which is cavernous and beautiful. And it has a lot of secrets as well, uncovering lots of secrets. The Natural Trap Cave in northern Wyoming brings graduate students out, rappelling down into this cave on a nylon line about 80 feet. You have to come on down in. And it's a chamber, a bell-shaped chamber about 140 feet in diameter. And there are remains down here of Ice Age mammals. Scientists say this is fascinating to go down and see what is in this cave. That the expert cave explorers who are working here say over the last 150,000 years, countless animals have fallen through that hole and into this cave and clearly have not been able to get out. So when you approach it from the flat plain to the east, it appears suddenly beneath a small rise. So you could see how tens of thousands of years ago, carnivores and herbivores that they chased could miss the shadow of this cave until it was too late and could fall right into it. Maybe because they were running, maybe because of their weight, whatever. Many of them fell more horizontally, landing on the cave's floor well beyond the 75-foot perimeter of the entrance and then dying on impact. And as the debris pile in this cave grew over the millennia, some animals that fell rolled or bounced, creating a broad field of bones that fill this chamber today. There's a Miracinonyx, which is an extinct cat known as the American cheetah. Its skeleton had stayed together, was observed on a ledge deep inside of this cave a couple years ago. Each layer of soil has a name related to its color and composition in this cave. And the further down they work, the more things they find. They found teeth of extinct species of American horses from different periods within this pit. They were using the teeth to build morphologies of the horses of the time. They have found all kinds of interesting things. A bony plate the size of about an iPad. It's a scapula from an animal related to the present-day bighorn sheep. They think if it matches a skull fragment that another grad student found, that they'll have more of a complete sample there. They say they've found all kinds of things. So here's another picture of some of the things they found. Oops, sorry, here it is. Look at this. American lion, bighorn sheep, wolf species, horse species, American cheetah, mammoth fossils found down here. So the excavation continues, and the more they dig, the bigger trove they find. They found a weasel jaw without teeth in this cave. Fascinating. They call it an amazing place. It's a single site, and the time range over which it was open is so long that it has the potential to show the change over time as long as the individual skeletons are dated. So they're focusing on the last 39,000 years in the late Pleistocene, coinciding with the most carefully dated bone bearing layers inside the cave. These deposits that were laid down during a continuous cycle of glaciers advancing and retreating. And the researchers say what we're going to see is if we can accurately model the dry and wet cycles at this site based on slow changes in animal teeth, their mass, and other things that possibly they can do sort of a climate analysis. So there you go. That's Hide in Your Cave Monday as we visit this very fascinating natural trap cave. Not a place you want to fall into unless you're a researcher on a rope with a way out. Yikes. The moon has very, very different sides. We knew this, right? Because it looks different. Scientists, though, think the differences could be explained by what's inside the moon, but they couldn't exactly prove that until now. The moon's near side, most visible to Earth, is dark and covered in the remnant of ancient lava flows. The far side is rugged and rocky. Scientists say they found the moon's near side is flexing more than the far side, meaning there's something different about the internal structure of the moon's near side compared to its far side. So researchers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena started analyzing data, and they say they were so surprised by the result they at first didn't believe it. They ran these calculations over and over again to verify that this is what they were seeing. The work has been done over a decade. The data gathered by the Gravity Recovery and Interior Lab, GRAIL mission. For this mission, 2 spacecraft, the Ebb and the Flow, were sent to orbit the moon for a year between 2011 and 2012. And they used the data collected there to map how the moon responds to the Earth's gravitational pull as it orbits. That they say the moon's gravity slightly fluctuates as it circles the Earth, which causes it to flex. And it's that movement that led scientists to understand the moon's deep internal structure and discover that the moon's near side is internally warmer than its far side. Thinking is this helps with the crucial understanding of the moon, and it may help us understand other planets too. So the team has used this technique to map the internal structures of planets like Jupiter and the Vesta asteroid, and they think that there will be many opportunities in the future to apply this technique for studying the interiors of planets or planetary bodies that are intriguing in the solar system, because we know more about the different sides of our moon, and the temperature's different. Interesting. It's a story about long COVID that I wanted to make sure to include today. And oh no, oh no. Well, my apologies. Let me make sure that I get the right uh, information about this story, because we have some new developments as far as long COVID. And they think there's a biological cause for brain fog. There are a lot of people that cope with this kind of chronic fatigue, inability to think clearly. And the answers now, we think, appear to be both biological and neurological. So there's a study that has just been done that from Corewell Health in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Michigan State University, showing that there are an estimated 12 million COVID long haulers in the United States. And they mostly have this in common. They start feeling a little slow, having difficulty thinking or concentrating, maybe a little confusion, forgetfulness. There are up to 200 different symptoms, mental and physical. But the most common, brain fog, lingering fatigue, and a shortness of breath as well. The neurological symptoms, they think, can limit those who once excelled at sophisticated mental multitasking to only being able to do just one thing at a time. Since long COVID was first recognized as a syndrome, there's been an effort to find the biological mechanism that is causing it. And this small scale study is showing altered levels of a pair of key brain chemicals in patients who complained of these symptoms as long as 6 months after COVID. The findings provide evidence that a biological mechanism is at the root of the cognitive impairments of long COVID. It's the first study to directly measure inflammation in long COVID patients, and it supports theories that the brain fog and fatigue aren't just mental issues, but linked to a biological cause that can be assessed. The Michigan study looked for telltale biomarkers to assess cognition in patients who have been very conservatively defined as having long COVID. They looked at only 17 people with confirmed COVID diagnoses, including 10 still reporting long COVID symptoms, and a control group of 7 others who recovered without any problem or long lasting problem. And the authors found those with the symptoms had lower serum levels of nerve growth factor, NGF. This is a protein that plays a key role in neuron development and the maintenance of the brain's plasticity. That NGF is associated with a high level of cognitive function that requires memory and mental flexibility. The same people had the higher levels of interleukin 10, which is an anti inflammatory protein secreted by white blood cells, and it plays a crucial role in regulating our immune system. They also showed decline in letter fluency, which is this neurological cognition test that measures how quickly you can perform executive function mental tasks requiring a working memory and attention to detail as well. They say that this is significant. The biological changes that were found with the NGF and the interleukin 10 are pretty important discoveries that reflect the brain's ability to adapt and grow new neurons and connection, and that was suppressed in long COVID. And it aligns with the findings in the neurocognitive test as well. And that this is a novel finding because no one has looked at that before. So, we're getting closer to figuring out maybe how to fix this. Time for the lotto of the day. Let's go to Maryland. I love this picture. I don't think we've done this one yet, but I sure love it. And I love how you're able to hide your face too. This is out of Maryland. This guy hiding behind. To pay to the author of, or pay to the order of another one, another winner. This man from Maryland has won his second big prize from the Racetracks lottery game. This time, winning 46,000 some odd dollars, 46,700 some odd dollars in their virtual horse racing game. It's called Racetracks with an X at the end. He said he was over at the Rod and Reel store when he decided he was going to put a superfecta wheel bet on a different set of horses than his regular picks. He chose horses 1, 7, 8, 9, and 10 for 20 races. And on the 16th race, the horses numbered 7, 8, 9, and 10 and crossed the finish line in the exact order that he had predicted. So a 50-cent bet earns him more than $46,000. And it's not the first time another one won. Previously, he won $78,000 playing Racetracks. He said his winnings will go toward paying bills and giving a little boost to his savings account. That's what he's going to do with his 46 grand. We talk about this glowing sphere from the Netherlands. It's kind of cool looking, right? It protrudes from the Netherlands pavilion at the Expo 2025 in Osaka. What they've done is suspend this orb from the centerpiece of their pavilion. And the point is supposed to be a reference of Netherlands' connection to the water and its use of renewable energy as well. It's built from a steel structure fronted with rippling slats that rise to reveal entrances at the front. The water a key focus for this pavilion and a nod to the Netherlands' use of hydropower, as well as being a common ground between the Netherlands and Japan. So, this orb that rises through the pavilion's roof symbolizes the sun and the concept of infinite energy. It references the Tower of the Sun, which is a sculpture created by a Japanese artist for the Expo 1970 Osaka. So, kind of a homage to the past as well. It's supposed to be both symbolic and functional. At its heart, this glowing sphere that represents clean, infinite energy on water. It's designed, this building, for disassembly and reuse. The elements built with visible joints and screws so you can pick it up and take it somewhere else after the expo is done. Kind of interesting. The focus on material reuse, visible across the interior, furnished with benches, tables, upholstery, all made from recycled materials as well. Interesting thing they're doing. The focus on water, they say, speaks about something we have in common with Japan as the Netherlands continues to struggle with water. That water offers not only challenge but opportunity, and it's symbolized in the center of this common ground space. Sure is pretty looking. There are some other national pavilions at this event, including the Czech Pavilion, which has a spiraling structure of timber and glass, the energy generating Japan Pavilion, made from demountable steel and timber. So, a lot of people are doing interesting expos for the Osaka event. I thought that was particularly beautiful. We talk about this fascinating pottery from so long ago. Doesn't look like much. Maybe it looks a little dirty, a little old, maybe something you'd put out at a garage sale. Well, if you did, it would be one of these stories where you would be bummed because someone was making a lot of money off what they bought at your garage sale. This pottery that's about 150 years old. It's from the H. Wilson and Company. And they had been forgotten for generations, but now back, and more people are gaining an appreciation for this pottery, mostly made by 3 slaves. In 1856, according to an article in the Smithsonian Magazine, Reverend John McCamey Wilson Jr., who was a Presbyterian minister and an entrepreneur and very interested in clay science, relocated from North Carolina to Texas and opened a business called Guadalupe Pottery, sold mainly jugs, churns, crocks, and cemetery flower jars as well. And the process was pretty difficult in the 1850s. It took days to stoke underground wood burning kilns to a high enough temperature for a successful firing. And 3 of Wilson's potters were enslaved servants who traveled with him to Texas: Hiram, James, and Wallace. And for more than 10 years, these men were responsible for just about every aspect of Guadalupe's pottery's production, from the mixing of the clay to the throwing of the pots on a kick wheel to the glazing and the stacking of the vessels and the managing of the temperature of the flames in the kiln, all of it. And even after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued, they kept working. Slavery didn't end until June 19th of 1865, when word finally got to Texas. And when that happened, these men founded their own stoneware business at a new site. Hiram founded it with James and Wallace, and they called it H. Wilson and Company. Even though they weren't biologically related to their enslaver, they all took his surname, which was the practice back then of some Black Americans at the time. So they called themselves H. Wilson and Company. And there are some researchers that believe this was the very first business in Texas that was founded and owned by formerly enslaved people. Now, fast forward 150 years, the pottery that came out of that shop is being celebrated. You see it in silvery grays and greens, uneven salt drips, and textured glazes that maybe look a little like the surface of the moon. They're objects of art, and they have an extraordinary story of Black self determination. The pottery made by H. Wilson and Company is now seen in museums across the United States. It's even in the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. So, the story of the three men born into slavery were was hard to find out because of the sparse records at that time, but researchers have uncovered a little bit more about them. The There was one of them left a taped interview with, his son, James Wilson Jr., was taped in 1973 talking about the father's experience. They say emancipation offered the Wilsons an opportunity that no one had experienced before. Establishing this pottery business was complicated and it was expensive, and it meant finding a suitable site and testing clay and hiring workers, all of this done in a really dangerous environment. The Black residents of Guadalupe County filed about 200 complaints with the Freedmen's Bureau for unpaid wages and violent crimes perpetrated against them. There was a Baptist missionary from Maine that helped Hiram buy 600 acres of land for $500 and either gave him a personal loan or served as a guarantor in that transaction. So a lot of interesting pieces to this puzzle. But what we know is now the pieces of pottery are highly sought after and the story fascinating. The pottery, they think, was influenced by the work coming out of South Carolina. Bulbous jars, glazes that the pots all share. So, and the first time really that the enslaved signed their work. That was another thing that makes it special. So, fascinating. Lastly, and this story was submitted by Rhonda, scientists have been able to turn lead into gold for the very first time. So huge thanks to Rhonda for this story. There's a little gold nugget. You see it right there. This scientific discovery is temporary. Not the discovery, but the ability to turn lead into gold. And it was done using the Large Hadron Collider, which created more than 89,000 gold atoms per second. It was done at, I think, CERN, the Europe's Large Hadron Collider. They successfully transformed lead into gold. This is a giant particle accelerator that smashes atoms together at super high speeds. Scientists there found a way to knock 3 tiny particles called protons out of lead atoms, turning them into gold atoms. It's called the ALICE collaboration, and scientists say it's a very unique way to create gold. Instead of crashing lead atoms head on, they looked at what happens when the atoms just barely miss each other. And researchers explain that when this happens, powerful electromagnetic fields surround the atoms and can cause them to change into very different elements. The press release says it's impressive that our detectors can handle both major collisions that create thousands of particles and then these smaller events that create just a few particles at a time. So during one period of experiment from 2015 to 2018, the scientists created about 86 billion gold atoms. That only weighed about a trillionth of a gram, even though it sounds like a lot, right? You'd need trillions of times more to even make a tiny piece of jewelry. The machine can create about 89,000 gold atoms every second, but each atom only exists for a tiny fraction of a second before it breaks apart. They've done some recent upgrades to the machine, which has almost doubled the amount of gold it can make, but still very far from practical use. The fact that they can do that, though, is so interesting. You turn one piece of matter into another. The results test and improve theoretical models of electromagnetic dissociation, which, beyond their physics interests, are used to understand and predict beam losses that are a major limit on the performance of these hadron and future colliders as well. How cool is that? What else could they turn things into, right? What else could we figure out here? I'm fascinated by this. All right, one more lottery of the day, and this one is another winner. Another one. Can you believe it? That has won for the second time in a row. This story is out of Michigan. This guy won his second Fantasy 5 jackpot, pardon me, in 2 years. Come on. I can't even win once. I'm telling you, something is wrong. These people keep winning and winning and winning and winning. This man scored $110,000 from a Fantasy 5 double play drawing about a year after, winning a $115,000 Fantasy 5 prize. Kelly Ralston, who is 61 and from Mount Pleasant, told the lottery officials in Michigan that he bought a ticket for the May 10th drawing at the Oil City Easy Mart in Mount Pleasant and ended up matching the double play numbers. The ticket earned him a $110,000 prize just over a year after he had collected $115,000 from a different Fantasy 5 drawing. He said, "I've continued to play Fantasy 5 since I won last year, but I never thought I'd win a second time." He said, "The morning after the drawing, I scanned my Fantasy 5 ticket on the lottery app and was stunned when $110,000 came up on the screen. He said, I still can't believe I won again." And he says he doesn't plan to stop playing anytime soon. He said, "I plan to keep playing and hopefully be back claiming a big prize for a third time." Greedy. He said he has some plans in mind for the latest winnings. The first time he won $115,000, he used it to buy a camper and help his family and do things around the house. He says, "Now I plan to retire and to live comfortably." I don't know if $110,000 is enough to retire and live comfortably. I mean, you had to have been saving all along, but maybe it adds enough to the retirement pot that, it'll all work out. Unfortunately, there was an incident with the India Space Agency's rocket that they put up. It failed to deploy a satellite for Earth observation. The Indian Space Research Organization's EOS-09 spacecraft lifted off from a polar satellite launch vehicle rocket in India. They say there have been 101 launches from this area, including 3 to the moon and 1 to Mars. But the satellite was lost because of an issue with the third stage of the rocket about 6 minutes after launch. The third stage motor started perfectly, but during the functioning of the third stage, they said, we saw this observation that the mission would not be accomplished. So that was not something good that happened. Yeah, it didn't go. It's so interesting to me to see mission control and the way different countries do it. I have some video to share with you on this one. And here's the folks in India.
इनका हिंदी में प्रस्तुतिकरण करूंगा तथा मेरे साथ हैं सुश्री पी माधुरी जो इंग्लिश में कमेंट्री प्रस्तुत करेंगी। जी हाँ, जो फिर वह समय आ गया है जब इसरो के अगले C61 अपने मिशन जिसमें
R1 Roger. CDP to ROD. CDP
The
confirms
Honorable
readiness of
आदेश पथ की जांच कर ली गई है. सभी नेविगेशन
Trying to get to this part. Here it is.
3 space mission of ISRO. The fourth stage will be brought to 350 kilometers unstable orbit after the injection of EOS-09 satellite in precise orbit, thereby facilitating its re-entry and incineration in Earth.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds. Lift off normal.
auto tracking.
PP driver tracking.
PSLV 661 का सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन
Auto tracking.
प्रथम प्रमोचन मंच से
Plus 15
अपने उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर अपना सफर
First
जारी
stage
कर चुका है.
performance normal.
There's a magnificent liftoff. The morning sky made brighter by the PSLV. EOS-09 on its journey to
Airlift
orbit.
strap-ons ignited.
The vibration of the rocket launch is indeed to the
Uh-oh. And now we have a problem.
Plus 40 seconds.
गर्जना करता हुआ PSLV C61 आकाश में पूर्ण गर्जना से
Yeah.
सबको अचंभित करता हुआ अपने उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर जा
And
रहा
this
है.
is when they realize it's not going
First
to, it's
stage
not going
performance is normal.
प्रथम चरण का
Plus 1
निष्पादन
minute.
सभी तंत्र पूरी तरह सामान्य कार्य करते
Shuttle is
हुए
in minute.
And here it
Shah
comes back
ground
down.
station currently tracking the launch vehicle and will continue to track till PS4 ignition around 500.
Ground lead strap-on separated. P2 change route SCBT2.
ग्राउंड लेड स्ट्रैप ऑन को यान से पृथक कर दिया गया है.
Oh yeah, it
इस
went very
घटनाक्रम में
quickly
अगला
from,
एयर लेड स्ट्रैप ऑन को पृथक किया जाना है.
yeah. And here it comes back. It went,
The
that
ground
went
lit
very,
strap-ons have
it
been
went very
separated.
quickly from lighting up the sky in the beautiful morning sky to uh-oh, and here it comes back down. I've muted the sound. It kind of got a little loud there for a second, so I muted it. And here it comes back down to earth. Not going to work out. Oh, what a bummer. Oh well. Okay, well, I just wanted to show you that because I was amused by the way it happens in other countries as well. Thank you for being here. I just so appreciate it and really appreciate everyone contributing to the After Party Live and making it such a great place to be every day. And I'm so happy that I get to do this show every day. And that is because people come forward with the financial backing to make it happen. So thank you to Meredith D, who has a recurring monthly payment of $30 that came through. Jim S with a 5, Wes with a 5 from last week, Lori above the bar who kicked in 30, Elaine L who kicked in a 20. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the help and for keeping this show going. Tomorrow we have our Travel Tuesday. Where will we go? I don't know. We'll find out. If you have a suggestion, I invite you to send it to me. It is kim@theafterparty.live. I have it here. Kim, I can put it up on the screen. kim@theafterparty.live, the best email address, the best way to get me, and I'd love to hear from you. So if you have an idea of where you might want to go, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m., The Mark Thompson Show, David K. Johnston on the show, Jefferson Graham on the show, and a wonderful conversation with a historian, Professor Grandin. We'll do that tomorrow as well. But for now, make it a great day, everybody, and I'll see you back here tomorrow on the YouTube. Bye-bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.